Who are you? Kofi asked, narrowing his eyes. I am Lumo, the trickster, the creature said, baring sharp teeth in a smile. You say you're not afraid, but I know better. I can smell your fear. Kofi swallowed, trying to stay calm. What do you want? Lumo. In a secluded valley, surrounded by rolling hills and deep forests, lay the village of Umoja. Umoja was peaceful, filled with laughter and the sounds of children running barefoot through the dusty paths, chasing goats or waving sticks as pretend swords. The people of Umoja were known for their kindness, their shared meals, and their colorful clothes, which looked like moving patches of the sky or the fields. But Umoja had a secret as strange, unnerving secret. No one in Umoja had a shadow. Under the brightest sun, when other villages would see their people's shadow stretch long and dark, Umoja's people saw nothing. The village children thought nothing of it. They were born without shadows, and they didn't miss what they had never known. But the elders knew the truth of it. They knew the story of the curse of the lost shadows. Many generations ago, the villagers had made a pact with Kwezi, the powerful spirit of the sacred forest. Kwezi was both protector and judge, a spirit as old as the mountains themselves. The villagers had promised to honor and protect the forest, taking only what they needed and treating it with respect. But as time passed, the people grew careless. They chopped down trees too freely, hunted too many animals, and littered the streams with waste. And one day the spirit had enough. On that day the sun rose over Umoja as usual. But when the villagers stepped outside, their shadows did not follow them. The women at the well cried out. The children tugged at their mothers' skirts in confusion, and the elders fell silent, realizing what had happened. Kwezi had taken their shadows as a punishment, leaving them to live under the sun with a part of themselves missing. They felt strange, like they were only half real, and as the years went by, the villagers learned to live without their shadows, though the feeling of being incomplete never left them. One bright morning, a young man named Kofi sat by his mother's hut, watching the sunrise. Kofi was a dreamer, someone who always wondered what lay beyond the hills and forests. He was tall, with kind eyes and a stubborn curl of hair that refused to stay down. As he watched the dawn light spread over Umoja, he sighed. The sight was beautiful, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing, something that, deep down, he yearned for. His grandmother, Mama Efua, came out of the hut, stretching her thin arms. Mama Efua, Kofi said, why do we live like this, without shadows? I feel like we're not whole, like something's not right. Mama Efua's face softened and she leaned in close, lowering her voice to the forest spirit. Kwezi took our shadows long ago, she explained. It was a punishment for the villagers' greed. They disrespected the land. They forgot that we are not owners of this place, but its guests. Kofi nodded slowly, but a spark had been lit within him. Then let me find Kwezi, grandmother. Let me go to the sacred forest and bring back our shadows. Mama Efua's eyes widened in shock. No, Kofi, the sacred forest is full of spirits. Once you enter, the path will shift and twist. Kwezi will test you, and if your heart is not pure, you may never return. But Kofi was determined. I will go, grandmother. I will find a way. Reluctantly, Mama Efua prepared him for the journey, filling his bag with food and placing a carved amulet around his neck. Take this, she said. It carries the blessings of your ancestors. May it guide you and protect you from harm. Kofi hugged his grandmother and set off toward the sacred forest, feeling both excitement and fear thrumming in his chest. As he entered the sacred forest, the air grew thick and cool, filled with the earthy scent of moss and damp leaves. Strange sounds echoed around him, the chirping of unseen insects, the rustling of branches that seemed to move even without wind. Shadows danced between the trees, though none belonged to him. Kofi walked cautiously, feeling the forest shift around him like it was alive. After hours of walking, he grew tired and sat down by a stream to rest. He bent over to splash water on his face, and when he looked up, he saw a peculiar figure standing on the other side of the stream. It was a man, or at least he looked like one, but his face was blank, smooth as polished stone. "Who are you?" Kofi asked, trying to keep his voice steady. The faceless man tilted his head, his voice echoing strangely. "I am a reminder, young one, of what happens when people hide from themselves. I once lived in a village not unlike yours, but I hid my true self so well that one day, even my face disappeared." Kofi shivered, clutching the amulet his grandmother had given him. "I'm here to find Kwezi, to ask for my village's shadows to be returned." The faceless man laughed a hollow, eerie sound. "To find Kwezi, you must first find your own truth. Only those who know themselves can face the spirit of the forest." With that, the faceless man vanished, leaving Kofi alone. Kofi felt uneasy, but he continued forward, determined to find Kwezi. As night fell, the forest grew darker and colder. Kofi built a small fire and sat by it, feeling the presence of the forest closing in on him. He spoke aloud to keep his spirits up. "I am Kofi of Yamoia," he declared. "I'm not afraid." Just then, a soft voice drifted through the darkness. "Oh, really? Not afraid?" Kofi whipped around to see a small, fox-like creature with glowing eyes watching him from the shadows. "Who are you?" Kofi asked, narrowing his eyes. "I am Lumo, the trickster," the creature said, baring sharp teeth and a smile. "You say you're not afraid, but I know better. I can smell your fear." Kofi swallowed, trying to stay calm. "What do you want, Lumo?" The trickster chuckled. "I only wish to test you. Answer my question honestly, or I'll lead you astray, and you'll never find your way out of this forest." Kofi nodded, his heartbeat quickening. "Ask your question." Lumo's eyes gleamed in the firelight. "What do you truly fear, Kofi?" Kofi paused, feeling the weight of the question pressed down on him. He thought of his shadowless village, of the feeling of emptiness he carried. "I fear that I am nothing," he admitted finally. "Without a shadow, without knowing who I truly am. I fear that I don't matter." Lumo nodded, seeming pleased with his answer. "You may pass, Kofi, but remember, Kwezi's final test will be harder." The creature disappeared into the darkness, and Kofi, feeling a strange sense of relief, continued deeper into the forest. Finally, as the sun began to rise, Kofi reached a clearing where an enormous tree stood. Its branches twisted up into the sky, and its roots curled around stones and earth like the fingers of an ancient hand. At the base of the tree stood Kwezi, a towering figure with skin like tree bark, eyes like glowing embers, and a voice like thunder. "So," Kwezi rumbled, "you have come to ask for the return of your village's shadows." Kofi nodded, trembling but resolute. "Yes, great Kwezi. I wish to bring my people's shadows back." Kwezi's eyes narrowed. "And do they deserve their shadows, Kofi? Have they learned to respect the land, to live with humility?" Kofi hesitated, feeling the weight of the spirit's gaze. "No, He admitted, "We still have much to learn, but we can change. I know we can." Kwezi's gaze softened, though his voice remained stern. "Very well, Kofi, I will return the shadows, but with one condition. The people of Umoja must face their own truths, their own fears. Only then will their shadows remain with them." Kofi nodded, understanding the spirit's words. "I will make sure they understand." Great Kwezi, with a wave of his hand, Kwezi summoned a swirling mist that filled the clearing. The mist wrapped around Kofi, filling him with warmth and light. When it cleared, Kofi saw that his shadow had returned, stretching long and dark beside him. Kofi returned to Umoja hero, but he shared Kwezi's message with the villagers, urging them to face their own truths and live with respect for the land. Slowly, the villagers began to change, honoring the forest and embracing honesty. And as they did, their shadows returned, bringing with them a sense of wholeness that Umoja had not felt in generations. From that day on, Umoja became known as the Village of Shadows Restored, a place where both light and darkness, truth and humility were held in balance.